Praise the Lord, TDC Decatur, and welcome back once again to our Friday night worship, or Friday night service, sorry. It is always a blessing when we are here. We always receive the Word of God or a study or some sort of word from God. But today we are doing something slightly different. And I will be doing that slightly different thing. It's going to be very emotional for myself. And I hope the words that I will be speaking will give you hope in the way that I received it. I will be sharing my testimony of my pregnancy with this little boy that I'm holding right here with me. And it was hard. It was tough. We went through so much, but God came through. God turned things around for us. God showed us that if we wait on Him, things will be done. He will do them for us. So I invite you tonight to join us in this worship, join us in these songs, sing the words if you know them, and allow God to speak to you through whichever way possible. Be open to what God has for you. Be open to Him, to His word, and just let God move within you. And with this, I invite you to join us tonight with these songs.
Covenant of gold, your love is enduring.
This next song we will be singing is a song that got me through this tough time, or that we went through in this pregnancy. It talks about how God does things in His timing, how He can turn any situation around for His glory and for His honor. And I promise you, if you let God take control of your life, you let God guide you, what He did for us, He will do for you. So I hope and pray that this song does for you what it did for me. Whatever situation you're in, whatever trial you're going through, know that God is with you and He will turn things around for you as well. God turn it around, God turn it around, God turn it around. I'm calling on the name that changes everything. God turn it around, God turn it around, God turn it around. 'Cause all of my hope is in the name of Jesus. again. Praise the Lord once again. First of all, it's really hard singing with an infant hanging from you, from your chest. So sorry if I messed up, but I do what I can. I'm trying to figure out a way to share the words that will be sharing with you tonight, and it's like reliving a bad dream. Before I get into it, sorry. I want to start by saying that since I was a child, I always knew that I would have 4 kids, and at least one of them would be a boy. God blessed us with 3 beautiful girls first. And we finally got our boy, which his name is Matthias. And we are overjoyed. I'm very blessed to have him. I'm going to share something first that nobody knew, not even my husband until recently. And it's very hard to share. Before we found out, or I found out I was pregnant with Matthias, I had suffered a miscarriage. And I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my husband. I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell my friends. I didn't tell nobody. I felt like I died because I wasn't going to receive that 4th child. When it happened, I just came out walking, crying out of the bathroom. And I told my husband, I don't think we're ever going to have another kid again. I'm done. I'm not going to try. I don't want to try. I'm just done. And he just asked why. And I told him, I just know. And I carried that by myself for a whole year until recently. And I didn't want to share it with nobody because I didn't want nobody to tell me, oh, maybe it's God telling you that you're done. Or maybe it just wasn't meant to be. When I knew deep inside I was meant to have a boy. Fast forward a few months. I found out I was pregnant with him. And I was pretty far along when I found out. And when I went in for my first ultrasound, they told me I was 3 months, which is pretty far along, not knowing that you were pregnant. And I was scared. I was happy. My emotions were all over the place. And what didn't help is that in the sonogram, they told me we saw a spot in the sac. Or not in the sac. It was between the amniotic sac and my uterus. And it's called a subchorionic hemorrhage, and it's when the layer between the sac and the uterus is bleeding. And the scary thing about that usually happens at the very beginning of a pregnancy. So it's not rare, but it's a lot more difficult to experience that at 3 months. And they told me, you need to be careful because this thing can either go away or you can lose the baby. That was the first bad news we received. And I came home, I called my husband right away, and I told him what happened. We were both quiet. We didn't know what to say. We didn't know what to experience. All I knew is that I had to take it easy. It's hard to take it easy when you have 3 other children at home and homeschooling all at the same time while being pregnant and being careful. For a full month, I stressed, I worried. I tried doing the best I can to not lift heavy things. I tried so hard to take it easy. And it was just in the back of my mind, what is going to happen? And all I could say in my mind is, God, this is in your hands. I have no control over it. I can't take that out. Only you can. So a month later, I go back to get another checkup. And sure enough, it was gone. Nothing happened. The baby was fine. Everything was perfect from then on. And I was overjoyed because I was like, I will have my child. Another month came along and they wanted to check me again. Actually, no. The next time, I was already 4 months then. The next time I went in to get a sonogram, I went in for our gender reveal. And I was there all by myself because they wouldn't allow our spouses to come into the visiting to the offices or anything. So I was all alone through all this process at the doctor here. I go in and she starts doing the measurements, and all of a sudden I look at her face and I know something's wrong. And my heart sank. She didn't say anything because she's not allowed to, but I knew something was wrong. I just felt it. And when she turned on the TV, I personally saw something unusual that shouldn't be there. After 3 children, I know what a sonogram should look like. Should look like of a fetus, of a baby. I know what it looks like. I know what's in there. I know what isn't. And there was something that didn't belong. Again, she wasn't allowed to tell me, but I just knew it. After that, I went home. And when I got home, a few hours later, the next day, it was the day before our gender reveal, I received a phone call. And it was from a specialist for high-risk pregnancies. And she tells me, we need to set up your appointment to get you checked out to see what's going on. And I was so confused because my doctor hadn't called me. My doctor hadn't told me anything. And they're like, we want to see you on Monday, which was just 3 days away. And I asked her, what's going on? What is this about? And she's like, we are not able to tell you. You need to call your doctor. So I called. He didn't answer, given that my doctor was a very busy doctor. So I had to live with that anxiety, with that questioning of what was going on for the whole weekend. The next day was our gender reveal, and I had given that job to my sister-in-laws, Eunice and Areli, to surprise us. And I did everything I could to take my mind off of what was wrong. As we went and did our things during the day, and it came down to the time, we were ecstatic. They blindfolded us, first of all. Some of you might have seen it on Facebook, if y'all are friends of ours. And they played a song, and on the count of 3, we dropped our blindfolds. And when we did, my heart was full of joy because I had finally got my boy. But at the same time, I was hurting because I knew something was wrong. Again, full of joy and happiness, I tried to push those thoughts away and just repeated my thoughts to God again. God, this is in your hands. Only you know what's wrong. Only you can take that away. Only you can heal my child. We hadn't said anything to anybody yet about what was going on because we wanted to see what was going on. So Monday came, and my husband and I went, and this time he was able to join me in the office. And as we sit there waiting patiently for the sonographer to come in, my mind just goes all over the place. And just thinking of what it could be, what could be going wrong. Is there something wrong with him? Are they going to try to convince me to abort him? What is it? My mind was just racing, thought after thought after thought. When the sonographer came in to get the measurements to figure out what was going on, I saw that thing again. And obviously in this one, it was a bigger picture. And I knew something was going on. All I saw above my child was, all I could say was like a ball. It wasn't specifically on him, but there was a ball just floating around him. The doctor came in after a while, and she tried to make it as easy as it could, and she told us there is a cyst on your son's umbilical cord. She's like, we've never seen anything like this before, so we don't know what it is. We don't know if it's going to cause him any damage or if it's going to hurt him in some way. We don't know anything because nobody's ever seen, none of us have ever seen this. Then she starts checking him more to see how big or what it was affecting, or if it was affecting him any more than it needed, cutting off his blood circulation or anything. And then she comes to find a cyst on his brain cells. And it's the brain cell that creates the spinal cord fluid. And that kind of scares her a little bit. She says it usually goes away, but she still wanted to get it checked out. The cyst itself, she said it didn't seem to be affecting his growth or him receiving what he needed from the sac or any of that, but it was there, and they were scared. So from the cyst in his brain cell, they wanted to do a genetic testing, and they took my blood, and they're like, it'll be about 2 weeks before you get, a response. And then they're like, a week after that, I'm going to see you again. So I wait, and I wait patiently. And again, with the thought of the cysts, with the thought of both cysts, my mind started racing again. And all these emotions came flooding back again. And again, all I could say is, God, it's in your hands. I can't do anything. I have no power to remove this from my son. Only you do. And I know you will do what is needed to be done for our family. 2 weeks go by, and I received the phone call. The worst phone call I could ever receive in my life. And I'm pretty sure any parent who goes through genetic testing is terrified of this call, because this is the call that tells you if there's something wrong with your child or if he's perfectly fine. In our case, there was something wrong. They told us that he had a duplication in his Y chromosome, and it's a syndrome that's called XYY chromosome or syndrome, or Jacob syndrome. Now, this has no relation to Down syndrome or anything like that, but it would affect him a lot. And as the lady kept speaking and talking and saying, it was like someone just tore my heart out. They told me that if this is what he had and what was looking like it, because it was an 89% accurate test, they told me that he would suffer mentally. Physically, or on the outer looks, he would be perfect. It would seem like nothing would be wrong with him. But mentally, he would suffer so much. He would go through learning disabilities. His physical development would be slow, so he would have to have physical therapy. He would have to have speech therapy. There was a chance for him to be autistic. And so much more, and it just kept coming and coming. And they're like, you have to plan for all these therapies that he might have to go through. And as she is saying these words to me, my mind just goes blank. And I couldn't say anything. And then she tells me, do you understand what I'm told you? Do you have any questions? Is there anything else I need to answer for you? And I had no words. All I said was no, with tears filling in my eyes and a knot in my throat. And then she hung up. And that's where that's when it hit me. There's something wrong. Not just physically, but mentally, my son is going to struggle. And that is a scary thing. I mean, I started thinking, how are we going to do this? How are we going to help our girls work around him? How are we going to do this as a family? So many things just came to mind. I called my husband, and he heard me just crying. And he's like, what's wrong? And I just tell him, I'm like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do if this is going to be our life? How are we going to get through this? And there's so much that we have to research, so much we have to do, so much we have to figure out to be able to live this life if this is going to be the life for us. After he hung up, I called my friend, my best friend. And I told her the same thing. I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? How am I going to do this with 3 other children and a special needs son who's on the spectrum? How? And she told me, all you can do is trust in God. All you can do is just know that God has a plan for your son, and know that God will heal him, will remove all this and show you that he does miracles. For 3 days, I cried. 3 days. I cried alone. I hid myself to cry so my girls wouldn't see me. I just cried and cried. We hadn't told anybody yet until finally I told myself, I can't do this alone. I had been telling myself from the very beginning, I can't do this alone. So I looked up and I told God, you're the only one in control. You're the only one the one that can turn this thing around. And if it is our purpose to live with a child on the spectrum, then let it be. And if this is a ministry that is meant for us to grow in the church or to start somewhere else to help families with children on the spectrum, then let it be. But if you heal my son, this will be his testimony. This will be my testimony of what you did in his life before he was even born, before he came to this earth that you created. God, I told him, God, I can't do anything else. All I can do is hand it to you. And that's what I did. Now, don't get me wrong. I still thought about it, and I still cried every once in a while. But I was reminded that with God, all things are possible, and that we serve a God of miracles. When we finally told our families, I told my family first. I was by myself. And me and my family, we're close, but we had grown apart when the siblings, my brothers and my sister and I. And when I told them this, I saw a shift in them. Because to them, I was the one that never suffered, that never went through a hardship. I have a sister and a brother who had gone through a divorce, and I have a brother who has a daughter who was a preemie, and she was in the NICU for about 4 or 5 months. But I had never suffered or gone through a situation like they had. So to them, I didn't know what suffering was. But when I told them and I shared with them, they saw that I was human as well. That I was a person who could experience these type of situations. And it brought us closer. My sister-in-law started sharing things of what she went through with my niece, and tell me it's going to be okay, and that she will be there for me no matter what I needed. And me and my sister-in-law aren't that close, and that reassured me once again. My sister, my mom, my dad, and my older brother who doesn't believe, I don't want to say doesn't believe in God, but doesn't react to God the same way we do, just told me, I love you, and God has this. And when he said that, I knew he was right. I mean, I knew it before, but these words coming from my brother, who was a brother who just mocks me and laughs at me and says, oh, your religion doesn't do this, or your religion doesn't let you do this or that. Those words coming out of him reminded me that God is a God of possibilities. Then we told my in-laws, and my father-in-law reminded me that we serve a God of miracles, and that we will see that this little boy will be born perfect with nothing wrong. And I held on to those words till this day. I hold on to those words because it was true. I mean, my son is perfect now. We went on, and obviously it got harder. A couple months later, we went back. Oh no, I went back to see the doctor. She gave me the results again, and she did a sonogram, and we saw that the cord from the cyst had swollen 3 times its size. It was very large, not 3 times the size. It was 11 centimeters, if y'all can see that. See that. It was between 7 and 11 centimeters, she had said, which is very large and taking up a lot of space. And not only that, I had an enormous amount of fluid in my sac because he wasn't intaking the fluid like he was supposed to. So his stomach wasn't filling up. He wasn't being fed like he was supposed to. And that scared the doctor, it scared the specialist, because it can cause more genetic issues. We already had one on our hands. She didn't want us to go through more. So she offered to do a genetic testing that's called an amniocentesis, or an amnio. And it's where they stick a needle about this long. I don't know if you can see it. It's like this long. It is a very long needle into your abdomen to take some of the fluid, because the fluid itself carries the baby's DNA. And I agreed to it, obviously, because my baby's health was everything, and he was my priority. But at the same time, it was scary because with this procedure, it can cause a miscarriage, a stillbirth, an infection, and slightly other reactions. But I had faith, and I knew everything would be fine. I went in, they did it. They told me you're going to have to wait another 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, before you get any results. During that time, I had family, I had friends telling me, you need to stop serving. You need to stop working. You're doing too much. You're a mother of 3. You're singing. You're running around the church doing stuff, and you're pregnant, and you're going through this. You need to stop. You need to sit down, rest. You just need to stop. And after a while, I started telling myself, I need to sit down. I need to rest. I shouldn't be on my feet this much. I should be taking it easy, taking care of my kids, doing what I can to make sure everything is okay with myself, so it's okay with him. And when I started to tell myself, I'm gonna take some time off, I'm gonna do it, God spoke to me in a dream. First, he showed me my son's face, which he's always done with all my kids. And the way I see them in the dream is exactly the way they look like when they're born. But he showed me this little boy, light skin tone, lighter than my other children, with beautiful bright eyes, and someone who looked perfect. But then, after a while, he showed me what would happen to my family, my personal family, my immediate family, if I sat down. And all I saw was everyone falling apart. My sister, my brothers, my parents. It's like he was telling me, you are the glue that keeps your family close to me. If you stop, they stop. It all falls apart. You can't stop. I woke up the next day and I called my friend again. I told her, you know what? I can't stop. I even talked to my husband. I can't stop serving. I can't stop doing God's work, because that is what shows my family that I have faith. That is what's showing them that I can push through this, that I am strong because of God, not because of myself, not because of anybody else, but because of him. And if I stop, then who's going to show them that? Who is going to show them that God is a God of capabilities, God of possibilities, God of miracles, a merciful God who is. So I continued. I didn't stop. And my father-in-law kept telling me, don't stop. We need you. God needs you. You have to push through. Don't let other people's words bring you down. And I did exactly that. After that sonogram, I had to get I don't remember what it was, but they had to do some imaging on the baby on the cord because it was so large that they were afraid that it was going to affect him because it was large. There was no space between his belly button for him to be born. Given I was already 6 months at this point. I was 6 months pregnant. And afraid that they were going to have to operate on him right after he was born because there was no gap from his belly button in the cord as it usually is. It was swollen all the way, covering his belly button completely. So we had to get some imaging done. And through all this time, I was just telling God, you're in control. I have no control anymore. I can't do anything. Only you can. On our way to Cook's to do this procedure, I get a phone call. It had already been a month from the amnio, and it was the phone call that we were waiting for. Right before we walked into the hospital, I get this phone call. And it was the phone call, the best phone call I could have ever received. They told me, your son is perfect. There is nothing wrong. That first testing that we got done came back wrong, given they did it twice and it said it twice. But they're like, there is no duplication. They're like, there is a slight, tiny duplication, but it will not affect him the way we thought it would. Your son is going to be fine. He's going to function fine. He's going to be able to do anything and everything that he wants without anything holding him back. And it was like a weight was just lifted from my chest. I tried so hard through the weeks, through the months, to not let that bring me down and keep me from doing what I was doing. That when I heard those good news, it was like everything was going to be okay. Nothing was going to be wrong from here on out. The one thing that was worrying us the most was gone. And they didn't know how, because he still had that duplication. It just wasn't as big as it was at the beginning. But I knew God did that. I knew God took that from him. I knew God healed him from that, so he didn't have to suffer. The next thing once we went in, they did the imaging. A couple weeks later, we went back to the doctor, and they told us the swelling has gone down from his cord. There is space for us to cut it when he is born. There is no need to operate on him anymore. Little by little, it is going down. We don't know how. We don't even know what this is, but it's happening. Fast forward to the end of my pregnancy. We were still scared because we didn't know what this cyst was. We didn't know what the swelling was. We didn't know what was going on. But the last few weeks of my pregnancy, we noticed, or the last couple months of my pregnancy, we noticed that the swelling was going down. But then something happened. His heart rate, his heart variables, as they call it, were all over the place. They were dropping really, really low. And they were skyrocketing up really, really high. And they didn't know what was causing it. They sent us directly to the hospital, thinking they're going to have to deliver him at 35 weeks. Actually, no, 32 weeks. I was terrified. We had nothing ready. We had no clothes. We had no diapers. We had nothing because we thought we had 8 more weeks to go. And I was terrified because I was thinking we will be living out of the hospital for God knows how long. Again, I call my friends and I tell them what's going on. And just like the amazing people they are, they started trying to gather stuff up for us because we were going to be in the hospital for who knows how long. The first night we're there, they're preparing everything for me to go into the operation room so they can get him out. They having me sign waivers, having me sign this, taking blood, doing all these tests just to prepare. And as I waited there after everything was done, all I could think of was, God, I need you. I need you in this moment. I need you right now. And it was a Friday, so we had the Friday night service. So as my husband left to get stuff from the house, I started watching it. I joined everyone live stream. And with the songs and the preaching, I just let God move in that room. And all I could say was, God, if this is the path we are going through, if this is the time that this baby will be born, okay, I'm ready. I have to be. There's nothing I can do. But I know you are a God who can do things that no one else can. So I beg you, don't take him now. Don't let him come out now. Give him time to grow because I'm not ready. We were there for 3 days because his heart rate would go up and then down, and up and then down, and his movement would stop. And finally, he was at peace, I guess you could say. His heart variables were perfect. There was movement. We were good. And then fast forward to the time of delivery. And I'm almost done, just so y'all know. I had to deliver a week early because of the cyst. I was supposed to, my specialist wanted me to deliver 2 weeks early, but we did 1. And out of all my children, this was the most complicated delivery I had ever gone through. I wanted to give up. I wanted to tell everybody I can't do it anymore. I was in so much pain that I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to pass out and never see my child because it was that hard. All I could do was ask God for strength to push through so I could see my little boy. And when the time came, all I heard the doctor say is, he's perfect. There is nothing wrong. The cyst is gone. There's nothing on his cord. He is perfect. And that's something only God can do. My child being in the womb, suffering through all this, me being pricked everywhere, being terrified, filled with anxiety, God delivered his promise. God showed me that he was with me all along. Even when I was at my weakest, he was with me. He was with my child. And he delivered that baby that he showed me. A perfect child, light skin, bright eyes. And I knew my life was complete. I knew it. Though we still went through a few other things after delivery because of his cord, everything came out fine. We ended up spending one night in the NICU after delivery because of his cord, thinking that he had a hernia. But weeks later, doctor said he's perfect. It's all gone. There is no need to operate on your son. And once we heard those news, we knew what God had done. I'm telling you right now, God is a God of miracles. God is a God who does so many things. And throughout this process, nobody knew. Only a handful of people knew, which was pretty much our families and my friends. My 3 dearest friends who kept me strong through the whole time. And you might ask, why didn't you tell the church? Why didn't you ask for prayer? Why didn't you do this? There are some things that need to be done in secret. And not just that. When situations like this happen, there will be people, not everyone, but there will be some people thinking or saying or gossiping, saying, oh, did they do something wrong to deserve this? Is God punishing them? And I didn't want to hear that. I shared this with a few people we trusted. The people we knew who were going to push us through and give us that strength that we needed when we were down here. And I'm glad we kept it this way. Because God showed me. My husband doesn't really share much, if you know my husband, Eli. He's a very quiet person. But God showed me a lot in this process. God reminded me that he was always there. I was at a point where I felt like I had lost God, I had failed God. And through this whole experience, through this whole situation, he showed up. He spoke to me. He reminded me who I was and what we were capable of doing and what my son was capable of becoming. So I know it was a lot to hear and a lot to take in, but I hope this helped you, this testimony, because it's not mine. It's just a piece of mine, but it is my son's. Because now that he is on this earth, everyone who has met him, everyone who has seen him is filled with joy because he's such a perfect child with those bright eyes. And I thank God daily for him. And I feel like sometimes I have to, like my daughter says, I have to pinch myself because it feels like a dream that he is here with us, that we have a son. But it's God. It is all God. God is the only one that can do stuff. God is the only one who can perform these miracles, who can take any situation and turn it around into something beautiful, something perfect. So if you are going through a situation or a trial or suffering through something and you feel like there is no hope, I promise you there is. If he did it for my son, my child, an infant, 3 months old, he can do it for you. If he did it while he was in the womb, more he can do it for you that you are out here being able to hear his word. All I ask you is to receive what God has for you. Accept God into your life. Let him move. Let him work with you. Let him show you all of his splendors, because I promise you, the moment you do, everything will change for the better. I want to thank you for those who stayed up here listening. I don't know who was watching, but I pray that this testimony can help you in some way, or that it brings you to God. So just join us in this last song and allow God to just take control, to seep into your soul so you can see what he is capable of.
mercy gathered, mended and whole, empty-handed, but not forsaken. I've been set free. I've been set free. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that